Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of BC Buckets. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me once again is Colin Mitchell. Today, Colin, we have a battle of two young, fun, explosive wings, both under 20 years old. We have Will Riley of Illinois and Hugo Gonzalez of Real Madrid. This is interesting because Riley reclassified. Right, he skipped his senior year. He went up to play at Illinois, originally from Canada. And Hugo Gonzalez from Spain has been someone that has worked his way up, was a highly touted prospect at 17U, 18U, all those ages. So these are two guys that have had some anticipation about them the past couple years. And so now we're getting to see them as draft prospects. What are your thoughts? Where are you at? Do you have a favorite between these two?
I think they're both very different when you try to evaluate them, right? Will Riley has a lot of reps, so you have a lot to watch, whereas Hugo Gonzalez is on that Real Madrid team that you mentioned and didn't get like any minutes and really just played in those smaller cup games. So it was kind of hard to evaluate Hugo. But with that being said, I think overall, when you look at both of these guys, you're looking at two very raw prospects. And I know you mentioned they Will Riley reclassified. They're basically the same age. I think they're both like 19. They'll be like
And a half.
19 and a half almost come draft time. I think with that being said, they're both still really raw, even though you see some flashes, especially with Will Riley and his scoring ability. Both are really, really raw, and I don't know where to really go with them.
Yeah, let's start with I think Riley. I have Riley higher than Hugo.
Yes, I do as well.
By a decent amount. I don't know how many spots it'll be on my board, but it'll probably be somewhere 5, 6, 7 spots above Hugo by the end of this. When we first started, and we did Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper, and so we were watching a lot of Rutgers games. One of the Rutgers games I watched was against Illinois, and because I also got to scout Kasparis Yakojonis as well, so I watched that game, and I thought, and it was the game in February to be specific. I think they played twice, and I thought Will Riley played Ace Bailey to almost even in that game, and the flashes again, like you said. The consistency we'll talk about, it's very up and down, but the flashes of scoring and like the flashes of that feel where he has it off the bounce and he can be off balance at times. And I think the handle, while, he's not someone you want initiating, but as a wing at 6'8", 6'9", like he's actually pretty under control and he knows how to get to his spots on the court and elevate and score. So him going toe to toe with Ace Bailey was one thing. And then I texted you this. I was like, the second half against Xavier in the NCAA tournament game, he was phenomenal. And that was another moment I was like, all right, it's not just like flashes where it's a couple plays a half or something like that. Like he can start to put it together for like actual stretches. And with that being the case, again, I'm not saying I have him like top 20, but I'm okay with being like, all right, it's raw, but I see it.
Yeah.
Like I genuinely can see what we're looking at here. He finished that Xavier game with 22 points, 3 of 4 from 3, 5 of 8 from 2, 3 of 3 free throw line, 4 rebounds, 2 turnovers, 2 blocks. Just an awesome game from him in the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think with Will, when you watch him play, you're like, oh yeah, he can fill it up. But then there's things where the where there's definitely some things lacking. Athleticism, being really lanky. He's 186 pounds, I think is what I have written down here.
Yeah, 185.
Yeah, 186 pounds. Negative wingspan, so defensively, he's not really gonna be able to recover with his length or anything like that. And I think defensively as well, especially screen navigation, it really bothered me just watching him get basically just beasted by screeners.
Yeah.
So I definitely see the scoring, and I feel like if he was like 40 pounds heavier, 30 pounds heavier, that you'd be like, oh, like he's like top 15, top 10, just because of the
40 is
muscle.
way too much. Let's go with like 30,
30.
20 to 30.
I said 30.
Let's go 20 to 30 range.
What is that? Like 226? Like he's 6'9". Hey, that's good.
Is he LeBron?
Hey, could be. Point being.
Yes.
Yeah, that. So, and then when you move on to Hugo, you mentioned, or or we both mentioned, sorry, that how raw they are. I think it's almost the exact opposite, where you kind of see the scoring that Hugo can do, but I think he excels more as a defender
Mhm.
when I watch him as
He's like a
opposed to maybe
motor guy
yeah.
a
Whereas
lot more.
I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, he's gonna be a scoring wing. It's more like, oh, like he can be a guy that can get minutes on the court almost, as opposed to Will Riley, where it's like he's a bucket.
Yeah, you mentioned Hugo's, like, road to this point and this past year at Real Madrid being difficult. They did have that Young Stars tournament, like you mentioned, where he actually did get minutes with from Real Madrid and played and was fine in those games. Also, if you go back to 2022 in the U17 World Cup, he was awesome in that tournament and going against the U.S. in the championship game. In 2024 for the U18 FIBA Eurobasket, he was also very good. I believe he averaged 20 points a game there. So we have indicators that it's like more than just theoretical with Hugo. The problem is that in the immediate, with 64 games with Real Madrid, it was not evident at all, really. Like
Right.
with the actual Real Madrid team, it was just not really evident. And so you also have a track record of inconsistent shooting. And that's really where I start with him because the effort's there, like the motor's there, the cutting, like as an off-ball player, the rebounding, like the athleticism. I think all those things, and that's what makes these two very different prospects. Like Hugo checks those boxes, but these guys are on completely different worlds in terms of shot making and in terms of even like I mentioned for Riley, I think the ball handling and playmaking like flashes a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Hugo, I don't see. I don't see
Yeah. No,
much.
I agree. I
Like it
completely
was
agree. I mean,
negative assist to turnover this past year.
yeah, I mean, I think when you watch the tournament that he did play in, I think he was a little bit more comfortable. But yes, I mean, it's not the same offensively as Will Riley. I think when you watch Hugo too, you mentioned the shot. It's like it looks good when he has time and there's not somebody running at him. But I feel like anytime there's a closeout or if he tries to pull up, it's almost like his mechanics just completely change. And I don't know. It doesn't. I don't feel confident with his shot moving forward, even if he does kind of calm down a bit. And I know he didn't get a lot of minutes, but it's hard for me to look at Hugo and go like, okay, yeah. Especially when you're playing a lower league, you're playing the Euro League. Obviously, when you go to the NBA, you're averaging 3 minutes or what? How many? 11 minutes on a European team. When you get to the NBA, where does that? Where do you finally step up at, and what skills actually finally come up?
That
Because
was
you're
gonna
playing
be yeah.
because you're playing
That's
with
kind of the
Dennis Smith Jr., I
question
think,
there.
was on that team as well. I mean, there was a bunch of ex-NBA players on that
Oh,
Real
Real
Madrid team.
Madrid? Oh, yeah, Real
Yeah,
Madrid's always very good, yeah.
yeah. So if you can't break into that, I don't know how you can break into an NBA rotation. And I don't really expect a player like him, especially being drafted late, to do that. But I don't really even see the step up a couple of years from now. Whereas Will Riley, you go, okay, yeah, the scoring, you go the ball handling, you go the playmaking. If you can put on some weight, hopefully you don't become a negative on the defensive end. Then I can see a path, a lot sooner than later for him.
I think it's a lot more realistic to be like, if I told you in 5 years Will Riley was a capable defender and a good and a I mean, just continue the offensive progression to where not even saying he's like an all-star level offense player, but like if he's a good offense player, but then the defense kind of comes around, like that's a very believable thing. We've seen ample players take that. I mean, we go back to Jaden McDaniels, right? The infamous of where it was like we couldn't figure out the defense, even though we had the tools. You know, in 4 years, you're a different player at 24, 23 than you are at 19. Different things matter. You figure out your role on a team. Like it wouldn't shock me at all if you figured out, even without the incredibly long wingspan that Jaden McDaniels had, like if he becomes a fine defender, but then offensively, like we see it kind of come together, and he is a secondary or tertiary creator on a team, and so I feel good about him. And honestly, I have him around the 20 to 23 range on my board right
Mm-hmm.
now. I don't know if that's, I mean, think that's a little higher than what most have him at, but like I feel pretty good in projecting just because the shooting I trust, and then the overall feel for the game, I think is there enough. And if the defense comes around, then he can be a starter in the NBA at some point.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not really sure where I have him because if he doesn't have the games like against Xavier or those game after game where he has those
Yeah.
stretches of just offensive output, if you like the eye test wise, it's hard for me to go like, oh yeah, this guy, like his shot's kind of weird to me. He kicks his leg out a little bit when he's contested or even on some open shots. Leaves
Mhm.
a lot of mid-range shots short. I wrote this down. 20 games with one made 3-pointer or less. Is that true? I must have. I don't
It
know if I
looks
put that on the wrong person or
it
not,
looks
but
right.
okay. I just want to make
'Cause
sure
there
that I
would
was on the right.
be yeah, I mean, there's games where he's hit 5 threes, 3 threes, 3 threes,
Yeah.
then 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 2, 1, 0, 1. So,
So
yes.
so it's
I mean, he
it's
shot 32% for the year
yeah. He
from
wasn't
3.
like a sniper or
This was
anything,
not
but he
yeah,
did have those stretches where it was like long sustained stretches of like excellence almost. So that's kind of what makes me have him higher. But if I'm looking at him just playing and you don't see that, I'm going, oh, he's not going to the first round. So I think that quote unquote it factor that he kind of brings with him is going to take him a long way, and teams are going to buy that
yeah.
if they take him
I
around that
feel
23
and he
range.
played on a good Illinois team,
Yeah.
too. Like,
With
it's
another
worth
NBA prospect as
with
well. Like it wasn't
yeah,
like
and
he
he
was the
had a
main
good
guy.
he had 23 usage percentage. Like, he had the ball in his hands a good amount, so I just trust him there. Not much more on Hugo here. He's gonna be second round, high second round grade for me, most likely. Again, I just don't trust the shooting or the playmaking, and I like the hustle and I like the defense, but I just need to see more on ball ability here for him. Even if he is a wing that can play off ball, like I need to see more consistently. And I wouldn't be, well, I don't even know why. I feel like he could have waited another year or two before coming over. Honestly, like
Yeah.
try to get more
Or
reps
done the
there.
thing that other Europeans have done and come over to a college and
Yeah,
try that
exactly.
out just to see.
Make a couple $1,000,000, come play college. He could have got it back playing college. All right, comps.
Mm. For Will Riley, I have I tried thinking of players with short wingspans. So taller Tyler Hero is who I wrote down for Will Riley.
Okay.
Not Tyler Hero now, but like Tyler Hero from like
You kind
two
of see
years
how they
ago.
play. Like he kind of plays a little bit like him, I
Yeah,
guess. Yeah.
yeah. So that's maybe not defensively the same at all, but I think offensively that's kind of what I see for Will Riley. And then for Hugo, it was really hard just because you don't really have a lot of tape to watch. So I put Nikola Jurisic from last year.
Mhm.
You gave me that one actually. So I ran with that. So I stole it.
Yeah, that was a guy who could get downhill, and I think he was stronger than where Hugo is right now. But yeah, we liked Jurisic quite a bit. I think last year. I think I had
Yeah,
him high
he had a lot
second
higher
round.
role though, but lower league.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What was that Mega, right? Mega,
hmm
I believe. For Will Riley, I have TJ Warren, and then if he adds weight, Kyle Kuzma.
Kyle Kuzma was an interesting one. I almost wrote that down. But the weight, the weight thing for
The
sure,
way,
and
yeah.
being able to stay.
Kuzma's hefty.
Yeah.
Hugo, I like you said, this is a tough one here. I just tried to think of a slasher wing that doesn't shoot at a high level, and I came up with Romeo Langford.
Romeo Langford. Wow.
Spurs traded for Romeo Langford when
How's that
they
go?
traded Derek White to the Celtics.
hmm What a good trade.
So
Hey, Romeo was a lot younger back then. You
shout out
know.
to Romeo Langford. But yeah, those are my comps as well. So
Cool.
yeah, Riley, like I said, probably in the 20 to 24 range for me. Hugo, probably in the 32 to 35 range or so for me. So yeah, thank you all for joining us. Leave us a like, comment, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Check out the other videos on our channel, and we will talk to y'all later.